So I found another kind of we discussed the Purim and Pesach dynamic of the Jewish year, right? They're the bookends of the Jewish year. The Jewish year starts with Pesach, basically Nisan in the spring, and Pesach, and it ends with Purim. And we also understand that that's the journey of Jewish history. That the Jewish people we were born with Pesach, and the wonders and miracles of Pesach, where we saw Hashem so clearly. And then the end of history and the final Geula will be characterized by a more hidden element, like by Purim, where there was no, in Megillas Esther, there was no name of Hashem mentioned at all in the entire Megillah, and there was no real miracle that occurred. I mean, what was the miracle in Purim? What?
It's the only time I've found, maybe there's another case, where Yerushalayim is written with the Yud. And it's almost like there's an intervention there on the second parak of the Megillah.
Okay.
So I always wondered.
Yes, but the miracle, obviously there was an intervention. There was definitely an intervention. But the miracle is not clear. The miracle wasn't one that we viewed with our eyes. Or that was really perceptible, that would have made miracle headlines. I mean, yes, we defeated our enemies and we didn't take any losses, and it was a perfect battle. So that was miraculous. But there was nothing outside of nature. There was nothing outside of the laws of nature really that were disturbed in order to enact that victory and that miracle. So we see that the beginning of the year and the beginning of Jewish history is characterized by open and revealed miracles, seeing Hashem, and the end of the Jewish history and the end of the Jewish year is characterized by a more us coming to the realization of Hashem running everything, despite the fact that Hashem is not clearly visible in the physical world.
Well, isn't that really? You heard something that took it away, but then I got back. Everything that happened to me that day was totally. It happens to be nice, but it's natural. Nothing's
completely, and that's where we're at today. We're at the end of Jewish history, and the end of Jewish history, or the beginning of the real Jewish history, but the end of the Jewish history of with the Yetzer Hara. Is this seeing this having to experience Hashem in our daily lives, in the daily grind, not expecting to see a hand coming out of the sky or lightning bolts killing our enemies, but that in our day-to-day life that we see and we interpret the coincidences and the happenstances and everything that happens, whether good or not as good, as coming directly from Hashem.
So when it's good, I guess you say when it's good, it's almost like a miracle that's easy.
Right.
You've got this intervention, though, because it was when Pharaoh couldn't sleep and he asked for the Book of Chronicles, and then I led on to Mordecai.
Achashverosh. I agree there was intervention. I'm not saying God wasn't involved in Megillah. He was. But it wasn't in a way of coming into nature like in Egypt, where the sea split and hail and water and fire combined. None of that, right? There were no miracles, right? So obviously there was intervention, but the mode and the method that intervention took was completely different. And that's exactly the point, that in Egypt the intervention took the form of breaking nature and huge miracles that we all could see and anybody could see. You don't have to think about it. You don't have to feel a certain way. You don't have to be in a mindset. You don't have a particular attitude. When the sea splits in front of you, there's really nothing else you can say about that. It's a miracle. But when somebody runs into somebody they haven't seen or they were just thinking about, or or this came on this day, and this happened to be just what I needed right now, and so, or it's like to say that was Hashem's intervention requires an internal posture. It's not just that anybody is going to have something nice happen to them, a serendipity, a coincidence, and say, wow, Hashem loves me. That requires an internal posture. Do you agree? That requires an internal posture. It's not something that is undeniable. It's totally deniable. And the proof is that beautiful and amazing things happen to all of us millions of times a day, maybe more, and we don't rack it up to God on a daily basis. Okay, we don't say, wow, God is taking care of me. Wow, Hashem is keeping me healthy. Wow, God woke me up this morning. He's making my body work. He's making the money work out. He's making the things work out. I don't do that. That is not something is my knee jerk. And that's because the world goes on as normal, and it's up to my internal shift to be able to see what's happening in the world as divine providence, despite the fact that Hashem's name, meaning a revealed, postcard from Hashem, is not coming, is not happening.
Is it fair to say that those are the miracles that we may just see for ourselves? It's not like someone sitting next to us is going to see the same thing. Like with the splitting of the Red Sea, you're looking at the same thing. So that becomes a much more, I'm feeling of myself or choosing to. It's very individual.
It is individual, but when we talk about Purim, right? When we talk about Purim, it wasn't just happening to one person, and only one person could perceive it. It was the whole Jewish people. And maybe it was even the non-Jews as well around, that if they were attuned to God and to the fact that Hashem is working through nature, they see that what's happening is not mere serendipity and happenstance and positive coincidence, but is actually Hashem working through nature, and to be able to experience that. And that is an internal posture and attitude, mindset, awareness, perspective that has to be there in order to experience that Maisa Hashem, that Yad Hashem, that hand of God, in our lives. It requires, it's not a, we're just talking the difference between the miracles at the beginning of the Jewish history, and the Jewish year of Pesach, where you don't need, it's very external to us, the miracles and the hand of God. They were very external. You didn't have to have a certain mindset to perceive them. You just had to have eyes in your head to see them, and they were very visible. Whereas at the end of the Jewish year, at the end of Jewish history of Purim and the final Geula, which is going to be similar to Purim, the miracles are not going to take the form that will be readily perceptible to our eyes. If it has to be an internal mind shift, an internal posture, an internal perspective of looking at the world, and then we'll see that all of these things that happen that I would have attributed to just regular cause and effect was actually the hand of God directly in my life. And that's something that our eyes alone aren't going to perceive, that our eyes alone will see just nature, will just see the world continue as normal. But if our hearts and our minds are attuned to God in the world and living with him and knowing that he's taking care of us at every single moment, which is for real, if we're attuned to that, then when things happen in our world, in our life that could look to the camera as just normal day-to-day stuff, we will perceive them as the miracles from God. And at the final redemption, those will be even greater than the miracles of Egypt. That is what the Rebbe says, that those miracles at the end of time will be greater than the. Those are the miracles that will be. We know that our tradition says will be greater than the miracles of Egypt.
Could it also be because they're going to be everything? Egypt was one-time event to finish. You got it. You got the hit. Well, the Kohen Rebbe say at the end of time, all the things in our lives are going to be at that level. In our Gashmic life is going to be that recognition of God.
Right, but it's the recognition is not coming from an external stimuli.
I got it.
Right. So, but that's the point. The point is that it's going to be greater. Yes, it's going to be greater because it's going to be everything, all of that. But it's also going to be because it's going to be all of us. It's going to be from an internal, holistic, us being attuned to it rather than just Hashem, us viewing and perceiving Hashem's hand in the world. But actually, it's from our own internal shift that then we are able to perceive godliness in the world.
But Hashem controls nature.
Of course. So where do we see this in the Shulchan Aruch? Where do we see this in the Shulchan Aruch? So I watched a Rebbe video this week, a clip, and he brings at the beginning. Does anybody know what the Shulchan Aruch opens up with? What the line the Shulchan Aruch opens up with? The opening words of the Shulchan Aruch.
I was going to say good morning, but probably not.
It's, wake up. Okay. It's really the Ramah. It's the first words of the Ramah, Rav Moshe Isserles, the Ramah. On the he wrote his. Do you know the story of the Ramah on the Shulchan Aruch? Do you know the story? Why the Ramah is written on the Shulchan Aruch? So the Shulchan Aruch was written by Rav Yosef Karo. He lived in Sfas, and Rav Moshe Isserles lived in Poland,
Yes.
and he wrote his own Shulchan Aruch at the same time, contemporaneously to the Rav Yosef Karo, and it was his magnum opus, also his book of code of law. And then the Shulchan Aruch came out. Rav Yosef Karo came out with the Shulchan Aruch, and Rav Moshe Isserles had a decision to make, because if he decided to print his book as a separate book, then it was really with the risk that there would now become kind of two Torahs in Klal Yisrael. There would be the Shulchan Aruch, and there would be Rav Moshe Isserles' Shulchan Aruch. And so, despite the fact that this was his magnum opus and that it was his life work, he, instead of publishing it as his own volume, he ended up just writing notes to the Shulchan Aruch. He took the Shulchan Aruch and wrote his notes on it. And so it was the Shulchan Aruch with the notes of the Ramah on the Shulchan Aruch, not below. It's published in line with the Shulchan Aruch. And so that was what?
Talk about subjugating your ego.
Exactly, for the greater good. So that was the Ramah. So he starts out his Parish.
That was for the Ashkenazi.
Yeah. I mean, it's for all of Klal Yisrael, but yes, it was more speaking to the Ashkenazi. It had Ashkenazi, minhagim and halachas. So he says, it's the second Haggah, really. Shivisi Hashem l'negdi tamid. Shivisi Hashem l'negdi tamid. I will put Hashem in front of me always. Always I will put Hashem in front of me. Okay, I think this is like Pesach. I'll put Hashem in front of me always. This will be always Hashem in front of me. I will see Hashem. This is it. I see Hashem in front of me. Then the whole Shulchan Aruch of Orach Chaim. We're talking about Orach Chaim, not talking about the whole Shulchan Aruch, but just the laws of the daily life and our daily year, not monetary laws and things like that. And at the end, Rav Moshe Isserles, the Ramah, finishes his Parish by saying, Tov Lev Mishta Tamid. Tov Lev Mishta Tamid. Another Tamid, another always. Tov Lev, a good heart, is always partying. Is always partying. Partying, feasting. Mishta, feasting, partying. That a good heart, Tov Lev, is always feasting, is always enjoying, is always partying. Okay? And that's the end. That's how he closes. He opens up the laws of daily life with put Hashem in front of you always, and he concludes with, and a good heart is always feasting, is always happy, is always joyous, is always in joy. Okay? Mishta, feasting. Okay? And so I think that this is really the exact same point. This is really the exact same point. That first, Shivisi Hashem Lenegdi Tamid, we see Hashem before us. And this has to be obviously something that we do. We put Hashem before us, like reenact the Pesach miracle to us, which we should remember on a daily basis, right? That Hashem is really controlling nature. And the result of that is that we internally make a shift and change our heart, that we see Hashem everywhere ourselves without the great signs, without the great miracles, without the sea splitting, but that our perspective is that Hashem is really with us and giving us everything we need at every single moment, and we're aware of all the goodness. We're living with Hashem in our heart, and the conclusion of that, Tov Lev Mishta Tamid, is a Tov Lev, a good heart, is always partying, is always feasting. That's the goal. That is the goal of the Jew's life. The goal of the Jew's life is feasting and pleasure. That is the goal. The goal is not to be upset. The goal is not to be critical. The goal is not to be more midaktik and more harsh. That is not the goal. The goal is Tov Lev Mishta Tamid. A good heart is always feasting, is always happy. That is the goal. And that goal is attainable, says the Rebbe, for the singular reason that our essential identity, that our essential makeup of who we are is a chelik Eloka mimal mamish. That we have a soul, that we have a piece of God Himself, and that is Chavuka Dvukabo, that is completely unified with God, and that is who we are essentially. And that connecting is pleasure, is simcha, is mishta tamid, tov lev mishta tamid. Okay? That is the goal. That is what we're going for. We're not going for, another davening, heavy, I can't do it good enough. That is not the Jew's goal. Okay? The Jew's goal is Tov Lev Mishta Tamid. If I am truly identified with my neshama, I am Tov Lev Mishta Tamid. I'm always happy.
Ivdu et Hashem b'simcha.
Ivdu et Hashem b'simcha. Okay, but the Tamid, the Shivisi Hashem, we start out Shivisi Hashem, I have to put Hashem in front of me always. The result is Tov Lev Mishta Tamid. Tov Lev Mishta Tamid. Not you're going to end up in the insane asylum. Not you're going to be a big shmata. Not you're going to be such a, what's it called, like a wet rag. You're going to be such a drag to hang around. You're going to be you say about party pooper. Shivisi Hashem Lenegdi Tamid. I don't want to be around that guy. That guy is a real downer. No. The result of Shivisi Hashem Lenegdi Tamid is Tov Lev Mishta Tamid. Is always partying. He's the guy you want to be around. He's the guy. He's the most amazing to be around. He's Mishta Tamid. He's always feasting. He's always happy. That is the goal of the Jew. That is the goal and the ultimate reality. That's where we're all headed. That's where we are all headed, whether we like it or not. We're all headed to Tov Lev Mishta Tamid. Mazel Tov. We will all arrive at Tov Lev Mishta Tamid sooner or later. Baruch Hashem. Okay? Now, we spoke last week at some length about how there is a difficulty of us imagining that this is a good thing. Shivisi Hashem Lenegdi Tamid. That this is not, what is our challenge? Why is Shivisi Hashem Lenegdi Tamid, like put Hashem before you always, I will set Hashem before me always. Those are the kind of psukim and phrases that we say in Jewish life that go in one ear and completely out the other. Like they don't even land anywhere. There is nowhere for that phrase and pasuk to land in me. Shivisi Hashem Lenegdi Tamid. Next. What's next? What bracha do I make on this? Okay, that I can hear. But Shivisi Hashem Lenegdi Tamid, I don't have to hear that. because it seems so far away. It seems so impossible. It seems so taxing. It's scary. I'm out of control. If Hashem is before me always, it's like I'm like a robot. I'm not even like myself or who I am. So I kind of want to, we're in Elul, and it's such an important time, Elul, and really the Elul, the message of Elul, and we blow the shofar is uru mishmish naseichem, wake up from your sleep. Wake up from our sleep. We got to wake up from our sleep. And that always sounds like a drag too. Like I like sleeping. So stop. Don't wake me up. Okay? But I think that it behooves us, especially in this time, especially because we learn this mimer of the Rebbe really talking about coming to this final geula and realizing that the shift, that the final geula is going to be characterized is an internal shift in us. It's not an internal shift in the way the world works. That will be. But first, the shift has to be how we view the world and view Hashem. And that's a more shivisi Hashem lenegdi summit kind of way. And so I think it behooves us to understand that even though we have to accept that we're not there yet, and that we're not even not there yet, we don't even want it. We don't even want it. Can we at least admit what it is that we don't want it, but that we want to want it? Okay, that is the goal. Okay, that is the goal of this shir, Bezrat Hashem, that we can come to the realization, one, that we can have the humility to say that I hear what it is, I hear what the ideal is. Two, I know I don't want it. Like I don't have a strong desire for that. In fact, I have like a kind of a low-level disgust or repulsion to that idea. And three, but I realize that's actually the ideal of Yiddishkeit, and actually the ideal of the conclusion of the whole world and what redemption is dependent on. And I would like to like it more. I would like to want it more. I would like to do one little thing. If I could just do one little thing to want it more, I would be willing to do that. Okay? And not be totally closed to the idea because it seems so remote to me, or so elusive, or so at the worst part, so repulsive. Okay? But is actually something that, wow, that is the ikar of Yiddishkeit. Maybe I should want it a little bit more. And maybe the way I'm doing things, or the limited way I'm looking at my religious life, maybe I could expand that horizon and open that box a little more. Okay? With Hashem's help. So let's start. Is that okay, everybody? On board? Okay, so let's go to the Chovos HaLevavos, the Shar Cheshbon Nefesh. The Chovos HaLevavos brings 30 cheshbonos, cheshbon nefeshes, okay, 30 accountings, 30 soul accountings that we should take, that he advises us to take. And I thought that there are 30, so I thought we should do one a month, right? There's one for every day of the month. Okay, so let's look at today's. Today, if I'm not mistaken, is the 8th day of Elul. So let's look at the 8th cheshbon. Okay, is it the 8th of Elul?
Yeah.
Okay. So let's look at. I'll read it in English. Okay. Now he's saying this as a cheshbon nefesh. Now he's talking not to tzaddikim gemurim. He's talking to every yid. He's talking to every yid. Let's just put that out there. He's not talking to just the tzaddiki hador. He's not just talking to your rabbi. He's actually talking to you and to me. Okay, so let's hear how he talks to us and what he says to us, little old me. Okay, excuse me. Here we go. One should make an accounting with himself of his obligation to devote his heart exclusively to God, may he be exalted. We have an obligation to devote our hearts exclusively to God. Okay, does anybody even know what that means? To devote our hearts to God? We have an obligation to devote our hearts to God. What does that mean, to devote our hearts to God? Let's hear what he says. There are two forms of wholehearted devotion. The first is wholehearted acknowledgement of God's unity, as was explained at the beginning of the book. Okay, so it's that we believe, we have emunah that Hashem does everything. Hashem livado. There is no such thing as just nature or coincidence or happenstance. There is no other power in the world but God. God is the only power. Is there any other power? Does anything else have power but God? Does anything else have power but God? Is there any other power in the world but God?
No.
No. Anybody think that there's any other? I just want to make sure we're holding at least ideally here, that there is no other power but God. No other power but God. No other power but God. Rav Gold also.
We talked about
That's,
this week.
that's, that's a definite.
No other power but God. No other power but God. Jeff, no other power but God, right? Is there any other power but God in the world? Is there any other power? We're taking a poll. Any other power but God?
Absolutely not.
Absolutely not. Great. So we're holding there. Okay, good. So we've got that. So we have to acknowledge that. Okay? Now, we get confused about this all the time, though. Even though if I stop you, and hey, is there any other power but God? No. Why did you get scared when the cop stopped you? There's no other power but God. Why'd you get? Yeah, but does he have power
Yes.
beyond more than God? So there is another power than God
Yes, that policeman could give me a ticket or throw me in jail.
without God's wanting that.
Well, there's the other conversation.
So you're telling me that there is another power but God. You're telling me there is another power but God, or there's no power but God?
There's lower powers. There's lower authorities.
Lower authorities that can work without God's permission?
No.
So God has all the power, right? This policeman cannot throw you in jail. Can the police, Jeff, I'm asking you a serious question. Can the police throw you in jail without God wanting you to be thrown in jail? God doesn't want you to be thrown in jail, but the
Then I
police
won't
throws
be
you in
put-
jail.
No, I can't be put in jail.
Great. Okay.
All right.
Okay, so the policeman has no power to do something that God doesn't want to happen. All right? Okay? If the policeman throws you into jail, that was God's will that you get thrown into jail. Okay? As much as we can't understand the secrets and everything, why that difficult situation had to happen, that was God's will. Anything else? How about medicine? Does medicine have power? Oh, so the question gets a little dicey.
Well, medicine has its effects.
It has its effects
That's all.
beyond God.
Well, whoever made it, Pfizer.
Pfizer has the power.
Well, they made it, or they didn't make it, but they pretended to make it.
They made the pill, so they have the power to heal.
Well, the idea of making the pill was the power to heal. Whether it actually, the power to heal went into the pill or not.
And who has
I
the
guess
power to
depends
put
on
the power?
Hashem.
Oh, so the pill cannot heal without Hashem.
Then don't buy them from Pfizer.
Does Hashem sell pills?
I guess so.
Hashem sells pills.
Is it covered by your insurance? Is what Are Hashem's pills covered by insurance?
So this is a little tricky. Okay, so let's just acknowledge the difficulty here that we have with this, because just in our Emunah, we see our Emunah is a little bit mitushtash. It's a little bit blurred here. Because while we all admit that Hashem, there's no other power but Hashem, as soon as I mention one thing, you're like, oh, well, wait, that does have power. yeah, that's how we live. We live like that. We live that electricity. There's power there. I'm soymech on the electricity. I'm not soymech on Hashem for the lights. I'm soymech on the electricity company and the fuse box, right? When I take the pill, I'm soymech on the Tylenol to take away my headache, not Hashem to take away my headache, right? That is good or bad. That's right or wrong. How right is that? How correct
if you
is
don't
that?
count on Tylenol to take away a headache, then you wouldn't buy Tylenol and you just walk around with a headache. So
Well, what if I
have a nice day?
Well, if I need to eat, do I believe that it's the food that has the power to make me full, or that Hashem is giving me that satiation? Who's giving me the satiation? Who has the power? What has the power to make me feel full? Does the food have the power to make me full, or is Hashem giving me that feeling of fullness?
Depends how much you
I'm
ate.
afraid to answer.
What's the truth? What's the truth? Not a joke. What's the truth? When I eat a meal,
Yeah.
in order to be full, to serve Hashem, when I eat that food, who is giving me, what has the power to give me the satiation? Does the food have the power to give me satiation, even if Hashem doesn't want me to be satiated? Or is it Hashem giving me the satiation, and I do it by eating the food? Like I
It's
eat
Hashem,
the...
but Hashem uses nature as
The food is the vehicle.
The food is the vehicle,
Food
but
is
the
the
power is Hashem. The food is the vehicle, but the power is Hashem.
So Hashem
If
is
you got thrown
driving-
in jail by that cop, the cop is the vehicle, but Hashem threw you in jail, right? Hashem wanted you to be in jail, not the cop. The cop is irrelevant, right? The cop doesn't have any independent power. The cop has no independent power.
Tell him that.
Okay, he has no.
Right?
But Lenny, what do we tell ourselves? Tell me that. Tell me that. Can I tell me that?
No, what I would say is it's Hashem's will that whatever happens, happens. Because nothing happens without Hashem's will, correct?
So then,
Right?
yeah.
Okay. So if a cop throws him in jail, which he truly deserves.
Well, yeah, of course. And you deserve that.
No,
today.
but the point is that,
There you go.
you know, the power to throw him in jail might come down from Hashem into his life and his reality.
I understand. Meaning
Right,
he
if you tell the
experiences
cop-
it as the cop's
And if
power.
you tell the cop that you're not going, he's going to beat your brains out, and I guess that's Hashem's will also, right?
But the point is for us to have clear, and let's just say, even if it's hard for us to accept that we can believe this on a moment to moment basis, but let's just theoretically agree or disagree. If really Hashem, there is no other power but Hashem, and that means that every need that I have fulfilled, everything that happens to me, every interaction, that my body works, that anything works, anything happens, it's Hashem's power and it's Hashem's will, and nothing happens in the world that is against Hashem's, that had power to do it if it wasn't Hashem's power giving it.
Is it a fair?
I see it more as
Hold on one
Hashem's
second.
design.
Okay?
I don't know if it's a fair analogy or a level analogy, but it's almost like us getting into a car. Right? We want to go a long distance. We need to exert the power to make the car move. The car is not going to move unless someone is putting the power into the car to cause it to move. Isn't that pretty much what the car's like nature? Hashem's putting the power of nature, whether it's pills, whether it's our digestive system, whether it's the cop, whatever it is. He's the one who's putting the power through them. They're the ones who are delivering, so to speak, his.
Right. They're the vehicle. They're the vessel.
vehicle.
But can we look at things as the vehicle and the vessel? Can we look at things, can we at least theoretically say that, yes, I believe that every single person, every single thing, every single occurrence, every single thing in this world is just a vehicle for Hashem's power. But no vehicle has power in and of itself to do anything that Hashem doesn't will it to do. That's my wife. That's the bank. That's the parnasa. That the bank and the wife and the job and the stock market and the pills and the doctors and the cars and all of these things are just vessels. They are vessels, vehicles, messengers, but they do not have independent power. They are completely guided by Hashem. They are guided by Hashem as far as my interaction with them, and my body, my hand is a messenger from Hashem. If it hurts, that's Hashem. It's not my hand. It's Hashem that's making it hurt. If it doesn't hurt, that's Hashem that's making it not hurt. Yes or no? We're on board with that?
So if I hit your hand with a hammer,
Yep.
it might not hurt, is what you're saying.
No, it'll-
Hashem doesn't want it to.
If Hashem doesn't want it to hurt, it won't hurt. You know what? I could be in amnesia. I could be, under anesthesia. And you hit my hand with a hammer, it will not hurt because I'm in anesthesia. So hitting my hand with a hammer doesn't mean it will hurt. If I'm awake and with you and conscious, yes, it will hurt. But if I'm under anesthesia, if I'm heavily sedated, it won't hurt.
Oh,
So it's not the hammer
when
that
you
makes
wake
it
up.
hurt. Okay, it's not the hammer that makes it hurt. If I wear shoes and my feet don't get wet, is it the shoes that kept my feet dry? Well, my feet have gotten plenty wet in shoes before. So it's not shoes that have the power to keep my feet dry. Hashem is keeping my feet dry. Hashem is making it hurt. If I yell at you and am angry at you for 10 years because you hurt my hand, that's misdirected. That's misguided. because you were just the vehicle to hurt my hand. Now, listen, I'm not going to necessarily be in a room with you and a hammer again anytime soon.
Would
1 second, Lenny,
Hashem
please
send
listen.
this vehicle?
Please listen, Lenny. Just 1 second. Let me explain and just see if you think, okay?
Okay.
That I'm not going to spend a time in a room with you and a hammer again so quickly,
Well,
but I'm
right.
not going to live my life being angry at Lenny and having posters all over. Lenny, watch out for Lenny. Hashem had me go through that suffering. You were the vehicle for that because of your schuyos, and so you were the vehicle to give me that pain. But if I'm angry at you and not thinking that Hashem gave that to me directly from Hashem for whatever reason, obviously a good reason, then I'm misguided. Correct or not correct? That's misguided.
I got a problem with that.
Uh-huh.
I got a problem with that.
Uh-huh. Yeah, I know. And that was last week's year. Last week's year was really discussing what is our problem with that. What's our problem with that? Because it's really what it is it's a lack of identifying with our neshama. It's a lack of our identifying with our essence, which is godliness. It's identifying with our goof. It's identifying with our ego. It's identifying me as this body, as this thing, this person named so-and-so with these stats and these, the CV, and that's who I am. So when you hit me on the hand, I'm angry at you. Because you hit me on the hand. You hit your accident. You hit me your accident. Yeah, I'm still angry. Accident. I was still angry at you. You're not being careful with the hammer. But that's me identifying with me and my body. That's not identifying with me as a soul. With me as a soul is totally connected to Hashem. So therefore, it's easy for my soul to see wherever that is, wherever that consciousness is, that whatever happens to me, whether good or bad, I know it's from Hashem. And the people or institutions or mechanisms that brought that pain or pleasure to me are just a vehicle. It's not when the computer angers me. How angry am I at the computer? It's just a vessel. It's just a vessel. It's not that I blame the computer. It's a machine. People are a machine too. If they're hurting me, then Hashem programmed that's going to happen to me, and I should see it. Just like I'll admit, if the computer broke down, well, it's for me. It's from Hashem. The elevator broke down, punked when I went in there, so it must be from Hashem to me. It's the same thing if it's a person. Just because they talk and have their own ideas doesn't mean that what they do to me, the pleasure and pain they cause to me, is not directly from Hashem also. And if the bank worked or didn't work that day, or the bank manager was nice to me or not nice to me that day, again, that experience Hashem gave me. He happened to give it to me through the bank manager, through the bank working, through the computer, through the elevator, through my wife. That's Hashem giving that to me.
It's also not necessarily Hashem giving it to you at that moment, right?
Exactly.
Because this could be a lot. We're going to respond based on our experiences, and who knows? You hit me on the hand with a hammer. Guess what? My brother did the same thing to me 20 years ago. Since then, anybody gets near me, but I'm bringing that to the table. But Hashem is not bound by time, so that I'm saying that. So it's really
He knows what will get us going. He knows what will get us going. But do we see? This is the first wholehearted acknowledgement of God's unity. This is what it means. The wholehearted acknowledgement of God's unity. That there is nothing else but God. There is nothing else. Everything else that we perceive as other is really. This is the whole mimer. The whole mimer of the Rebbe is that at the final Geula, what is our consciousness? Hashem levado. There is nothing else. There is no, there's also nature. There's also Hashem and there's also nature. No, it's a complete unity that there is nothing else but Hashem. So can we at least, even though we don't live like that, we can admit, okay, I don't live like that, fine. But can I admit that is where the truth is? The truth is that if I could get there, that would be amazing. But to see and to think that there is a complete unity of Hashem, that's what unity of Hashem means. There is nothing else but Hashem. There's no wife, there's no hammer, there's no this, there's no causes. It's all Hashem. Where I see the real cause. I see through all of these intermediary causes, Hashem made that happen to me. Yeah, you put the hammer in the hand of the guy. Like if you hit me on the hand with the hammer, I should be angry at the hammer. What? You didn't do anything. The hammer hurt me. You didn't do it. The hammer hurt me. I should be angry at the
No,
hammer.
the hammer didn't move by itself.
Well,
Yeah,
let's say
that's
you
like
drop.
the-
Let's say you
the
drop.
gun
Let's say you
killed
knocked it off the thing or whatever. But you hear my point, Lenny. It's like it's giving power to an intermediary force. You know, you also didn't give yourself power this morning. I don't think you powered yourself on either, Lenny. Hashem powered you on today. You said Moda'ani as a result. You didn't power yourself either. Do you think I can pick up this thing if I can't? Hashem allows me to pick this up, right? So, the hammer, the Heilige hammer can't move without Hashem. But me, I can move without Hashem. Can I move without Hashem, Lenny? Can I move without Hashem?
Well, I guess not.
I guess not. That's the unity of Hashem. I cannot move a finger. I cannot breathe. I cannot stay alive for 1 second without Hashem enlivening me and keeping me alive. Yes or no? That is also part of Hashem's oneness. That the unity of Hashem is that I am completely what?
It's not normal.
Dependent on God. That I am not, that the fact that I breathe this last breath has nothing to do with the fact that I can breathe a second breath. This breath is from Hashem. This breath is not from Hashem. This breath is not from Hashem. I think, oh yeah, we've been breathing for like 5 hours now. I'm good to go for the rest of the day. I don't need you, Hashem. I'm good to go. It's ridiculous. It's borderline insanity that I think that because I'm so used to living that I can just take it for granted like I make myself live. We don't make ourselves live. We didn't turn on the power this morning. And that Hashem turned the power on us this morning and keeps the power going throughout our day should not be taken for granted. And what I'm able to do, what I'm not able to do, what other people are able and not able to do to me should all be seen through the lens of Hashem is the cause. Hashem is animating all of this, and he's doing it directly to me for my good. I have a relationship with Hashem, not just with my wife, not just with the bank, not with the car, not with all of these other intermediaries, but I can see through the intermediaries and know that what's animating and what's giving power and propelling those things and giving them the so-called power that I see is totally Hashem, right? That's
No matter how much you believe that, you can have the greatest emunah,
okay.
and everything's coming from Hashem. But someone's not going to say, Hashem's given me cancer. Or Hashem has did.
Why can't you say that?
Huh?
Why don't you say that?
You wouldn't normally feel that way, would you? You wouldn't have that in mind. It's Hashem that's.
Why
when
not?
People going through tragedies because it's not natural for you. You can. That might be
Well, it's
your
natural
goal.
to say
That
good
might-
things are
that
from
might-
Hashem,
that
but
might
not
be
the
your-
bad things?
That might be your goal. Your goal to actually have this great emunah, which we were just saying we all agree on. But there are circumstances from a
It took a while to agree on
from
that.
a human being. It's not able to just say, well, Hashem gave me this cancer, or Hashem did this Holocaust, whatever it is. People are not able to say that because it's so beyond man's understanding. Yes, to say it's coming from Hashem, there's a but.
I hear you.
Some.
And we spoke last week a lot about what emotionally is making it difficult for us to really kind of acknowledge the totality of Hashem's unity. And what, because that is what it means. I have to acknowledge both the good and the bad, the comfortable, the uncomfortable, the pleasant, the painful. I have to equally see that it's all from Hashem and believe that it's from Hashem and therefore it's good. So yes, I totally acknowledge that point. And for some people, it's easier to say that the bad is from the good and not bad is from God and not the good. Some people, it's easier to say the good is from God and not the bad. And some people just can't see anything from. They can't see past the immediate cause in front of them, whether it's their parents, whether it's the bank, whether it's their spouse, whether it's their children. They just see that in front of them, and they can't even acknowledge that Hashem would be doing something to them, directly. They don't want to see that, whatever the reason is, okay? And we spoke about the difficulty of kind of whatever emotional blocks are holding that back. But from, let's say, completely cold now, just cold, calculating ideology, right? We know that Hashem's unity, that's what that means. That's what Hashem's unity is, okay? So that's wholehearted, acknowledgement of God's unity, okay? So that's where we get the wholehearted devotion from. First, we have to have the wholehearted belief. We have to have the wholehearted belief. So let's try to get the wholehearted belief. We see it's not so simple. It's not so simple.
So is it fair to say it's aspirational? We know that we can't currently reach it, but we want to continue to reach it because that's what ultimately raises.
We can totally reach this first part.
Well, the first part, yes. I'm sorry.
We can totally reach this first part.
In terms of the,
But we have to admit that it's something we want to, that it's true. Can we admit that it's true? Because again, after this conversation, you'll live your life again and we'll have cause effects all day long. And by the evening, I'll say, who brought that to you? And you'll be like, my wife, the neighbor.